Friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Emma Lefebvre. I'm just doing a video, is that okay?
Are you wearing daddy's glasses?
No, these are mommy's glasses.
Oh.
Oh, okay. So I'm kind of doing an impromptu video here just for this part because I had an idea to paint on my Etchr Lab watercolor sketchbook cover because it is canvas and you can customize it. So I thought, why not do that with some acrylic paint? And so I brought it to my Instagram, got people to vote. I'm still waiting for the results. But one of my followers was like, you should probably gesso your canvas cover because it'll be a lot easier to paint on. And I didn't even think of that. To be completely honest, a little embarrassed to admit this, I didn't really know what gesso was. Like, I've heard of gesso, but I didn't really know what gesso was. And so I looked it up. And basically it's just a protective cover or paint that you put down first, so it's easier to paint on and it doesn't do any damage to the canvas that you're painting on. More so for oils. Acrylics are a bit different. You can do it without gesso, but thinking back to when I paint like my son's canvas shoes, I usually do a coat of white acrylic paint underneath to make the paint colors vibrant on top. So I'm like, that makes sense. So the person who mentioned gessoing it first, thank you, because I didn't actually think about that. What are you doing? You're playing Pokemon? Okay. Here's the thing. I don't have gesso. I don't own gesso, and I really wanted to paint this video today, or paint this cover today. So someone also mentioned that you could just use white acrylic paint as a gesso. So my point of this is, I'm going to paint over my canvas cover in white acrylic paint first. It would also make sense. I tested it out last night, just painting with my soft body acrylics on the cover, and it takes okay, but it soaks right into the canvas. It's such a thick material. I'm gonna end up wasting a lot of paint without acrylic painting it or gessoing it. So we're gonna do a coat of this first before we get into the actual painting.
Mama?
Yes.
We gotta go to the pizza. Now I'm finding more. You want to paint more?
Do you want to show them the rocks Mommy painted you? Pokemon! Did Mommy paint you Pokemon rocks? Who's this?
Nobody.
Score Bunny. Pikachu rock. Gengar rock. There. Okay, so this is a very long intro. Point is, I'm going to gesso with acrylic paint because I don't have gesso. But I'm gonna purchase some because if this video is something you guys are interested in me doing another cover, I will do it again, but with gesso. So let's start and paint this cover, shall we? Okay, so as you can see, I have already painted on this because I just wanted to test it out. Oh, my white paint might be old. Yeah, I tried to paint just to test it out, just to see what it was like, and it did soak up a lot of the paint in the cover, which honestly is not ideal because I don't want to end up using so much paint. This I don't mind because this white acrylic paint is so old, so it's okay if I get rid of it. But my new soft body acrylics by Liquitex, I don't really want to waste it, so it's actually better that I'm doing this and priming this actual kind of canvas, and I just keep dipping my paint in the water, or my paintbrush, my dollar store paintbrush, because this is the biggest brush I have. This is the reality of filming when you have your toddler with you. So now I'm going to wait for this to completely dry, and then hopefully my little monkey here will be with his dad so I can actually get to painting this. Okay, so here we go. We are starting to sketch out the flowers. I decided on doing a bouquet of 3 flowers. 2 bigger ones, 1 smaller one, and then I just sketched out some leaves. I wanted to paint around the background first, just because I figured it'll be easier to put flowers on top of little edges rather than trying to do a background around flowers that I may like the shape of. Just my thought process with this. So I started off with sketching it, and then I grabbed my paints. The paints I used were these big jars of Rio Tech. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Acrylic paint. They're kind of like a heavy body acrylic. They stand straight up, quite thick, and I've had them forever, but I just had big jars, so that's why I used those ones for the background, because I was filling up most of the canvas with that color. So I just ended up using some Hooker's green, some primary cyan, and some white to kind of make this greenish bluish background color. And I just slapped those colors right on the canvas. I didn't bother mixing them in a palette first. So you'll see I have some areas that are a bit more blue, some areas that are a bit more green, some that are a bit lighter, just to kind of give it an uneven-ish texture. I was considering doing like a textured background and just doing like little blobs of paint, but I don't know what I just went with it and just kind of slapped it on there and moved it around, and the background turned out okay. So I just, added a little bit of water on my brush to thin out some of the paint so it wasn't too thick, and filled up the background first. So once the background was done, I decided to go right over top with the green for the leaves. I didn't really worry too much about letting it dry, because if the green and blue mixed, it would have this like bluish tinge to the green leaves, and I was totally okay with that. If I was doing like a contrasting color, like an orange on top of the blue, I wouldn't have done it while it was wet. I would have waited till it was dry, because if you know your color theory, if blue and orange mix together, you're going to get a nice shade of brown. So green and blue work well together, so I didn't mind doing it while it was wet. And then I just added some yellow on top to get a bit of that kind of yellow tint to the green to make it a little bit brighter. And then in some places I also added white, just to give those leaves multicolored hues of green in it. And that's all I did. So once my background and the leaves were completely dried, I decided to go in and start my flowers. I used my soft body acrylics by Liquitex, and again, I wasn't really using a palette. I just put the colors right onto my canvas. Started off with this quinacridone, there we go, quinacridone crimson color with a little bit of white, and then I mixed a little bit of yellow, which turned out to be a really pretty color. And that was kind of my process for the flowers. I was just adding the paint right to the canvas, clearly starting with a darker color and then layering those whiter highlights on top, which gave the flowers a bit more dimension. And that's one thing that you can definitely do with acrylic that you can't really do with watercolor, because watercolor is transparent unless you're using a more opaque watercolor or a white ink like I do when I really want those white highlights. But that's the beauty of acrylic, is that you can achieve that depth and dimension by adding white paint. And then for the center stamen, like you can see here, is actually yellow. But with all yellow paints, no matter what, especially acrylic, I find that yellows aren't always as thick and opaque as I'd like them to be. So whenever I'm doing anything with yellow, I always do a coat of white underneath. I could have just left that white from the canvas underneath, but I forgot. So I put white paint first. So later when I go back on top, when the white is dry, the yellow will pop a lot more. I'm not sure why that is with yellows, but I find it with every yellow acrylic paint I've ever used, even gouache, yellow gouache, it does the same thing. It's not as opaque as the other colors. So that's my little tip for using yellow. Put a base of white underneath first. So I started off with that pink flower. I don't even really know what these flowers were. Maybe kind of peonies. I don't know. Let's go with peony. And then I just continued the same kind of thing. The blue one that I'm doing here was a bit more, it had a bit more layers to it. And I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I knew I wanted to do two kind of layers of petals. I'm so good at these voiceovers. So I do kind of like these background petals first, and then you can see I add the white highlight, and then I'll do another round of kind of like dark petals closer to the center, and then a little bit of white highlight on that. So I don't really have too many tips for how to paint flowers with acrylic. This is not my specialty, but this is just kind of how I figured it out. So I'm just going to leave you to watch a little bit more of this without me rambling and making no sense on top. And then you can see how I did it. Okay, so it's done. And you know what? It looks better to me in camera than it does just me looking straight at it. And part of me, the part that wants to overdo it, wants to outline it and kind of make some funky lines with my Posca pens on top. I don't know if I should do it. It's not like I'm selling this painting. It's not like it's a big deal. I mean, if I were to ruin it, that's fine. But do I? What if I just try the leaves? I could always, okay, you know what? Okay, this is one thing I love about acrylic paint, is that I can maybe like outline some of the leaves, and if it doesn't work out, I can just paint over it again with acrylic paint. So I say we give it a try. This may be a big mistake. Let's test it out. Okay, so part of me wants to go with a black outline, but then the other part of me wants to try a white outline. And I think I'm gonna just try, first of all, I gotta tell, yeah, we're gonna go white. We're gonna go white and see what happens. And again, acrylic, you can always go over if you need to, right? Because I don't want to darken it up with a black outline. I just want to still kind of make it fun and bright and colorful. So this is where my instincts are taking me. And we will see once it's done how it looks. So far, I don't know. You know what? Either way, I can't ruin it. It's not like it's a piece that I'm going to be keeping forever. Posca pens, FYI, these are working like super well on this, which is really cool. I love Posca pens. I'm going to tell you that I have used them for so many things, and I'm loving this. And you know what? Actually, the more I'm kind of playing with this, I think I'm liking this white outline. But we shall see when it's done. Wonder if I should add some color. This kind of looks cool, especially for that flower. I feel like I always like a white outline better anyway than a black outline. It just makes it brighter for me. So let's keep going. I'm gonna pretend there's another leaf here, even though there isn't. I think I actually really like that. I wonder if I should like darken up some of the leaf areas. I wonder, should I incorporate black and like do a little bit of shading? Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. You know what? There's no going back now. I feel like I'm gonna try and get a little bit darker in here, especially just to make it look a little bit, I don't know, just make it pop a bit more. See if it actually helps any. Just a little bit of shadow, maybe a little bit of lines, especially for like the stamen bits. Give them a bit more like defined shape. I don't know if that looks any better or if it looks worse. I'm gonna grab a little bit of yellow here. I don't know, guys. I think it looks pretty good. I think I like this style a lot better. That, to me, made it so much better. That's crazy. I'm shocked. That white outline made it pop and like really gave it definition. Like at first I did not really like it that much, like just the acrylic. I was like, meh. But now I'm like totally in love with this, and I think it looks like incredible. Maybe that's just me, but like, I've never painted anything like this in my life. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. The white outline totally kicked its butt and gave it all this dimension that I was not expecting it to. And I'm 100% in love with this. This may be like one of my favorite things that I've ever painted. So yeah, that's that. And my mood from this painting went from like a 2 to a 10. And I'm very happy and proud, and I think I'm gonna have to do this again, but with something else, because I surprised myself and I'm very happy. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed that one. And if you guys want to see me do another one, let me know. And if you don't, I'm probably gonna do it anyway. So yeah, that was fun. And it got me out of my comfort zone, trying something new and then having it just kind of work. That doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's pretty awesome. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye.